Hello, and welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. And 2 rounds are down. We got more to go. Now we got
Rolling
the
into the Sweet
Sweet
16, baby.
16. 16 are left. So that means we got games to predict. Tim, are you ready to go?
Let's run it.
Let's run it indeed. It was a pretty quick intro, which we like because we got a lot to get to. Before we get to our predictions, though, as always, we will recap how we did. In the second round, yours truly went 12-4. Tim, you went 10-6, which brings my overall record to 36-12. You are 33-15. I hold a 3-game lead, and as the bracket draws narrower, it's going to be hard to catch games, but it's not impossible.
No, definitely not. We're bound to have some differences, although I think we have a lot of similar opinions on some of these teams. But we'll see how it all turns out.
We see eye to eye for most major teams, except for one, but who knows? Let's get into these games. So, as always, we're going to start in the West, where Gonzaga is taking on Arkansas. Now, Gonzaga beat Memphis 82-78 in a thriller where Memphis got out to a huge first half lead. But as always, Gonzaga is resilient as ever, and they were able to battle back and win a hard-fought game. On the other side, Arkansas squeaked by New Mexico State 53-48. They really struggled like pretty much all game, and New Mexico State gave them a run for their money, but the Razorbacks were able to pull away. It was pretty much just like a 1-50 type game. But hey, survive and advance, and now Gonzaga is playing Arkansas. So
yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very interesting game. You saw Gonzaga have some uncharacteristic struggles there in both of those games, and I for a little bit there, I really thought Memphis had them, but Memphis foul trouble really got with them late, and
they got by the got squad.
They definitely got there. And I think that really is what allowed Gonzaga to take control towards the end there. But I think what really, really scares me in terms of Gonzaga is their abysmal free throw shooting these first 2 games. It has nearly cost them 2 games in a row. Now, granted, the first one, they just completely took off towards the end there, but they shot even worse in the first than the second game. So it'll be really interesting to see if you have a similar story there in the third game and how Arkansas is going to be able to stack up with that. But Arkansas is a very solid team. They're definitely going to give them a run for their money, even though they've had some struggles here in the tournament. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the foul trouble is going to look like on either of these sides going into this game.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for who I think is going to win this matchup, both teams have struggled mightily. But Gonzaga, their resiliency is a quality trait that championship teams have. And I think they're going to advance here over Arkansas. That's the main quality to me that sticks out about this Gonzaga team. Their ability to fight back when the chips are down and not let the game flow, the negative game flow, take them over and ruin their mood.
Yeah, this one is it's really tough because you've seen some very, very iffy things about Gonzaga that may make you want to jump off the train a little bit. I know they are still a very good team, and Arkansas, of course, themselves haven't looked fantastic. They didn't have a great offensive performance, granted, against a pretty darn good defense in New Mexico State. But I think this one is going to be close late. And I think what it's going to come down to is big-time players making big-time buckets. And you've seen that time and time again with Gonzaga, with Drew Timme taking over in the second half in both the first and second round. But I'm going to pull a surprise on you.
Ooh.
I think the Razorbacks going to edge this out specifically because of free throws, because I think it's going to be close late, and Gonzaga is not going to be able to make free throws at a very high rate, I don't think. And I think the Razorbacks might actually edge this one out just by the fact that they are a much better free throw shooting team in terms of like their overall starting 5 or a lot of the guys they have on the floor, to where if Gonzaga gets down late, or even if they're up a little bit late and they start getting fouled, might not make some. And if they end up having to foul Arkansas, I think Arkansas is going to be able to knock it down enough free throws to keep the edge on them. So
yeah,
got the Razorbacks. I almost had both 1 seeds falling last game, and if TCU, but
we'll get into that later.
I'm predicting another 1 seed falling right now.
Yeah, and as soon as you mentioned free throws and how poorly Gonzaga is shot from the line, I'm like, he's going to pull a switcheroo. And lo and behold, you did. But we got more games to cover. The next matchup we have is Texas Tech and Duke. Texas Tech defeated Notre Dame in the second round, 59-53. It was a very gritty win where they played really, really poorly. They shot poorly from the field, but their defense, they forced turnovers at the end, and clutch free throw shooting was the key to that victory. And Duke on the other side defeated Michigan State 85-76, where this game was
Michigan State
anybody's
played them
guess.
tough.
It was anybody's guess for about 39 minutes, but at the very end, Duke led by Paulo Banchero. They came up big when they needed to. And now they're moving on, and Texas Tech and Duke face each other for the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting matchup. One of the ones that I think was probably the most predictable in the Sweet 16 based on like the route they had to get there. You definitely saw this matchup coming, and you could definitely see it being a very interesting one from a mile away. Texas Tech, they definitely took a step back on offense from that fantastic first round showing.
Took a step back.
Well, but like you said, their defense stepped up.
Giant step back on offense.
But their defense obviously did a great job in stopping the momentum of Notre Dame, who of course had some good offensive success in the play-in and that first round.
And at the end of the day, I think Texas Tech's defense is why they're here. It's why they've been so good throughout the season.
Their offense that first round was the anomaly. They do not usually score the ball like that. I don't expect to see almost any performances like that going on from here. But that being said, Duke definitely had some trouble with the way that Tom Izzo sort of planned for that Duke lineup and some of their stars. And I see Texas Tech's defense having some significant success here. I think they'll figure out a few more things on offense, and I think their overall play and overall shooting with some of their stars is going to be able to bring them past Duke in this lineup. So I see this being where the line ends for Coach K in terms of his career. It's been one hell of a final run for him, but I'm not sure if I see him making it past this one. They definitely could. Don't get me wrong. This one is very, very up in the air, but I like the Red Raiders in this one.
It could. And with Coach K, he's a very fine coach, one of the best that's ever done it. And when it comes to coaching, this last matchup against Michigan State and this matchup against Texas Tech, it's going to be a real chess match. The minds involved in those two games.
Because there's a lot of talent on both sides. Guys are going to make plays. Some guys are going to make some mistakes here and there. It's who executes their game plan better.
Yeah, exactly. But defense wins championships, and defense is going to last, because when the offense fades, the defense is going to be right back there to pick you up. And that's why I agree with you. I think Texas Tech is going to end Coach K's run. Again, great run for Coach K, but it's got to end somewhere. And I don't think that storybook ending ends with a national championship, but that's just me. We both got Texas Tech. Let's move on to the South region, where we have Arizona taking on Houston. Arizona defeated TCU in a fantastic finale for the second round, 85-80 in overtime.
That was such a fun game to watch.
Almost had it. TCU is incredibly scrappy. They can get the job done. We have known that for a few months. But Arizona's the better team, and Benedict Matherin's three to tie with 12 seconds left in regulation, that was an all-time shot. And
he made plays all game that really were just big time for Arizona. Both him and Koloko for
Christian
Arizona.
Koloko. They were
Christian
both
Koloko
big.
was just all over the floor that game. And they showed why they're one of the most athletic, fastest teams in the country and why they're so hard to keep up with. But I think the biggest thing to note that I saw from that game was I was kind of astonished, given their size and athleticism, how many offensive rebounds they gave up. TCU was all over the offensive glass, and that was not something that I really expected coming out of that matchup.
But then again, Big Eddie Lampkin for TCU was just hogging the paint, and he was.
I love that, dude.
Literally,
he was so fun to watch in that game.
That game was an absolute blast. But on the other side, Houston and Illinois, Houston kind of pulled away late.
That was not a very fun game to watch. I can't lie.
Yes, 68-53 final score. This was the brawl that we expected was going to happen. We were kind of looking at this matchup like, oh, we don't quite.
Who's going to get the edge out there? And who's going to shoot a little bit better than the other team? And Houston stepped up to the challenge there. They didn't shoot fantastically, but it was enough to give them that significant edge over Illinois for most of the game, and they were able to hold it all the way through.
Survive and advance, but Houston's not going to advance any further. Put simply, Arizona, you need one close game in order to win a national title. And I feel like that last round against TCU was Arizona's close game. They've been through a lot. They know how to win. And I think they'll have pretty easy time making it past Houston.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how easy it's going to be, because I know Houston's going to come to play. They've shown that their defense can be pretty good against some teams that shoot the ball pretty well. I think Arizona's going to have to do a lot off the dribble and a lot inside, but I think that they're going to have decent success there. I'm not sure if I see this being a real blowout win, but I do see Arizona coming out of this one in a pretty reasonable margin, somewhere like the 7-12 range probably, because I feel like once it gets late, Arizona, as they proved when TCU really tested them there, they are very prone to being able to make shots late when they need to, running their offense, not panicking when they were down 3 with less than 30 seconds left and whatnot. And I think that's going to be what really takes them through this game, is those crunch time moments and who's going to make those shots.
Cooler heads do prevail. We both have Arizona moving on. And on the other side of the South, Michigan is taking on Villanova. Michigan, the Wolverines are here. They defeated Tennessee 76-68. They've arrived and they knocked out my national champion in a lot of my brackets, which really sucks. But the play of Michigan, they've really impressed, and if they didn't erase all doubt yet that they deserve to be here, they've recaptured what made them such a highly ranked team at the beginning of the season. They're here to stay. And on the other side, Villanova defeated Ohio State by 10 points, 71-61. Villanova, they led the whole way and they put on a show. They were, put simply, the better team. And 100%. They spread the ball around. A lot of guys contributed. They had 4 guys with 10 or more points, which I think is huge. It was a really high quality team victory for Villanova. And that's what you're going to get from them. We've talked about how well coached they are. They have Colin Gillespie, Jermaine Samuels. They got dudes that can play and step up whenever you need them to. This Villanova team it's better. They're better than we expected. They're better than we thought they were going to be. So for me personally, I got to stick with my Big East boys. I got Nova moving on to the Elite Eight over Michigan. Michigan, it was a fun ride. It's going to be close. Michigan is going to play them tough, but Villanova, they practice the fundamentals. They know what they're doing. They have a game plan. They're going to go in and they're going to execute.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. I'm really high on Jay Wright and this Villanova team. They're just super disciplined. They've got guys all around the floor that can make plays. They don't turn over the ball very much. And when it gets close, this team makes free throws. Even if Michigan keeps this game close, I don't see Michigan being on the winning end in those last couple of minutes, where I think that Villanova is going to sort of be able to extend that lead with the free throw shooting and just overall not being phased by pressure. Because that was one of the things that Michigan did really well to Tennessee that I didn't really expect, is the fact that they sped them up. They caused turnovers. They didn't let them really take a whole lot of comfortable shots on offense. And that's what really helped Michigan get through that round of 32 game. And once again, all credit to Michigan. People thought they shouldn't be here, and lo and behold, they fought their way to their 5th straight Sweet 16. So
crazy.
That's it's great for their program, and it's shown that they can really take it to teams at any moment. And like you said, they've really recaptured that magic and those expectations that they had at the beginning of the season. I think the big reason for that has been the reemergence of the guard play for Michigan. That was what they really were missing, that they thought they were going to have at the beginning of the season. Now you've seen a bit of a resurgence with guys like Eli Brooks and other guys in that backcourt that have actually contributed in that Tennessee game and made things tough for other teams. But I like Villanova here. They've shown throughout the season that they can defend against teams with dominant front court. They almost had Purdue early on in the season, and they fought against quite a few teams throughout the year. So I think they're going to do a decent enough job to handle Hunter Dickinson and move on to this Elite Eight round.
And time. How long can Tim talk about college basketball? We just found out
entirely
too long. We are halfway through and we got 2 more regions to cover as we move on to the Midwest, Kansas and Providence. Kansas defeated Creighton in the second round, 79-72. Creighton minus Ryan Kalkbrenner, they fought resiliently. They fought hard, but Kansas was able to close them out and advance. And over on the other side, Providence defeated Richmond 79-51. This game wasn't even close. I picked Richmond.
Really good showing.
Silly me. I don't know what I was thinking. I was very clearly
you were thinking they were going to have some of that defensive magic that they had to mess up Iowa in that first round. And Providence, I guess, just really prepared
Oops.
well, and they shot the ball very soundly. They didn't let Richmond really get into their heads and mess them up all that much. And Richmond also just couldn't really get shots to fall when they needed to try to really stay in that game, and it just got out of hand really fast.
Yeah, it looked like varsity versus JV. I mean, Providence was clearly the better team, and maybe there's something to this Friars squad. Who knows? I mean, I picked against them in the first 2 rounds, but who knows what we got here? I'm going to pick against them again. They're playing Kansas. Bill Self has his team coached really well. They're going to be ready to play. I sound like a broken record at this point, but the well-coached teams normally make a deep run in this tournament. Ochai Agbaji, Christian Braun leading the way. This Kansas team is really, really good. And Providence, when's it gonna end? When's it gonna come to a stop? And it's not because this Providence team is lucky. This Providence team is legit.
They're well built.
Real.
They are very well built. They've had some hiccups along the way where it's like you had some close ones that really shouldn't have been that close, but they played extremely solid.
And I watched Providence up close and personal all year in the Big East. And it's quite frankly why I picked them to win the Big East tournament. If you recall back to our Big East video, we've known that Providence is legit. I just think this Kansas team is better.
Yeah, when it comes down to this matchup, I mean, I've said it before. You talk about being a broken record. I think people really underestimated this Kansas team as a 1 seed. And I really like how they've played so far, even in some of the close ones. Full credit to Creighton. Without Ryan Kalkbrenner, they put up one hell of a performance to keep this game close till the end. I think they really have the opportunity to have a bright future for that team, but they just couldn't really edge it out in that one. And this Kansas team is really solid. And I think that guard play plus McCormack down in the post there can be a really solid 1-2 punch for Kansas. And I'm not sure if Providence is really prepared to guard that. I think what it's really going to come down to is, will Providence have that sort of magic on the offensive end in terms of, can they shoot a very good percentage? If they shoot a good percentage and run their stuff well, I think they can keep it close. But I just think that with the way this Kansas team plays, it's going to be hard to shake them enough for them to lose this matchup. I've got Kansas moving on as well. Yeah,
pretty good points. We agree all the way. And now we got
the Sweet 16 matchup that almost no one predicted.
Oh, yes. A 10 versus an 11. Oh, yeah. I am here for it. I love it. Iowa State and Miami in the Sweet 16. Iowa State, they took down the 3 seed Wisconsin, which we got both wrong, 54
they made
to 49.
Wisconsin uncomfortable.
Yes, they did. And on the offensive side, Gabe Kalsher took the game over with 22 points. Normally, it's Isaiah Brockington for this Iowa State Cyclones team.
Pretty much gone from that game. I mean, he was playing, but he wasn't hitting shots. He wasn't really getting into
It wasn't
rhythm.
The usual factor that he normally is. So Kalsher stepped up, and that's what they needed. Now, for Wisconsin, losing Chucky Hepburn early, that was huge.
That hurt a lot.
That did hurt a lot. But Iowa State, they played just well enough for the win. And on the other side, the Miami Hurricanes.
Them Hurricanes are dangerous.
Defeat the Auburn Tigers 79-61 in convincing fashion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were pretty much leading them the whole way. I mean, I think Auburn cut it decently close at a couple times throughout the game, but especially into the second half, they just sort of pulled away and didn't really allow Auburn any chance to get back in it.
Oh, absolutely. Miami shut down Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler for almost Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler. They shut him down for almost the whole game.
Neither one of them were much of a factor.
Forced a lot of turnovers, a lot of steals. What this Miami team does really well. That guard play is so big, but Sam Wardenberg stepped up defending the big men, and that was key. They called me a madman for picking the Hurricanes over Auburn. They said I was crazy.
I really like the Auburn team. I think what I predicted, or what I really expected more out of that game, I knew Miami was going to do their thing. They've shown that they have the ability to pretty much do their thing against almost any team in the country.
Darn right.
But I didn't expect the defensive end to mess up Jabari Smith specifically, but both him and Kessler so much. I mean, Jabari Smith did get his shots. I mean, some of them, they definitely did get him off his rhythm a decent amount, but he just couldn't really get much to fall in that game. And I think that was really the big difference in closing that gap sort of in the middle 25 minutes of that game. And that really made the difference. Is it really shut the door on any type of comeback. So we've known, at least I know personally, I was really high on Miami. I predicted them to win the ACC tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
You did. You did.
They are a very solid team.
The Canes are for real, but we have a matchup to predict.
Yes.
Iowa State, Miami, and in the words of legendary coach Howard Schnellenberger, to believe is to be strong. And this Miami Hurricanes team,
boy, they believe.
But they believe. They're going to keep on believing, and they're going to keep on being strong right into the Elite Eight as the Hurricanes sweep past the Cyclones. What happens when what type of tropical storm meets another type of tropical storm?
You know, it's really interesting you point that out, because it's a pretty fun matchup to look up here. We got
I got Miami. Forget it. I got Miami. Throw up the U.
I was going to say,
go Canes.
Pretty obvious on that one. And this one ought to be a very interesting matchup, because I think what I look to the most being the deciding factor of this game is the offensive side for Miami and the defensive side for Iowa State, because Iowa State put up a very, very solid performance in making Wisconsin uncomfortable running their offense and not getting great shots. Wisconsin shot terribly from three. I believe it was 2 for 22 on the game, which is just god awful. It was kind of amazing to me that Wisconsin was still in the game.
22.
Yes, a free shout out to our boy Glenn Lerner. But this matchup ought to be very interesting, just based on the fact that Iowa State's defense really has to step up to eliminate some of the easy points that the guards from Miami go after every single game, and they tend to get. But we've said it before, I like defense winning games, and I actually think that the Cyclones are going to be able to mess up the Hurricanes enough.
No,
I think the Cyclones are going to be able to mess them up enough.
Tim.
I see Brockington having a bit of a rebound game, and I see Kalsher supporting him in a good way, knocking down shots in the mid range enough for Miami to not be able to overcome that offensive defensive spark from Iowa State. I actually have the Cyclones coming out of this one.
Tim,
we'll see. I mean,
Tim, you make me sad.
There's some opportunities to pick up some ground. Either I'm digging myself in a hole, or I'm picking up some major ground here.
You make me sad. On to the East, where we have North Carolina and UCLA. North Carolina, that was your one seed that predicted would fall, as they defeated Baylor 93-86 in overtime. North Carolina almost blew a 25-point lead.
Oh my God.
Baylor almost
that was
came
wild
back.
To watch.
That was an insane game. Of course, Brady Manick's ejection for North Carolina, that shifted the tide.
Complete momentum shifter.
And if not for fouls or like fouling out of games, Baylor may have won. North Carolina essentially tried to hand them the game.
They tried pretty hard.
Tar Heels prevail. But now UCLA on the other side defeated St. Mary's 72-56. And put simply, the March experience of UCLA, they came up big, and it was a relatively easy win for the Bruins. Once they pulled away, it was UCLA full steam ahead.
Yeah, I mean, UCLA across the table has options that they can go to in the guard position, in the post. Really, it doesn't really matter who you try to focus on. They have got other guys that they will go towards. On the side of North Carolina, they have just been a super hot team, posting 90-plus points in back-to-back games. Granted, this past one, they got their 90-plus in overtime, but their offense has looked sort of on another level. And I think it'll be very interesting to see how UCLA tries to match up against that. They've got some of the guys in that front court that I would say have the ability to match up with some of those North Carolina front court sort of matchup nightmares for a lot of teams. Guys like the Brady Manick and Armando Bacot, who have put up very significant numbers in these first two games. It's just really hard to predict, because I think if you let North Carolina start getting out on the offensive end,
North Carolina's been so hot lately, but UCLA, that experience, you can't pick against them. But Tim, who are you going to pick?
It's really, really tough, but I think the experience is going to have to edge out in this one. And I think North Carolina is going to lose just a little bit of their matchup. Or their magic. I believe that this one is going to be
both their
decently high
matchup and
scoring.
their magic.
Yes, because of the fact that, I mean, I like both teams the way they match up on the offensive end. I think it's going to be difficult for North Carolina to match up against guys like Johnny Juzang, Jaime Jaquez, and a really good supporting guy like Tiger Campbell on the offensive end. Where for North Carolina, they've got guys around the horn that have been able to score particularly well in this tournament. But I think I've got the Bruins coming out of this one because I really like the way they're built. They're a very well-coached team, and they've proven that they can grind out games even when they get close.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. Those are most of my major points too. I got UCLA also. Mick Cronin is a good coach. The 5 guys returning from the Final Four squad, and the experience is going to pay dividends in which, you can be as hot as you want as a team like North Carolina is, but in winning time, do you know how to win games? This UCLA team does. So we
definitely saw this North Carolina team almost mess it all up in that last round, even despite how hot they were for most of the game. They just completely hit the brakes in that last 5-10 minutes. Baylor completely messed them up with their pressure. I see UCLA, if they need to, can go to some of that pressure defense that North Carolina might not be able to handle.
North Carolina in the second half, all brakes, no gas, all facts, no printer. Now on to the final matchup, which is the most anticipated matchup in the heavyweight championship of the world. The national championship might as well be decided right here because whichever team wins, there's no stopping them. The Purdue Boilermakers and the St. Peter's Peacocks. What did you tell me last round in the Murray State predictions?
I believe, to quote myself, to paraphrase what I said, that you were going to ride them until you died, but you weren't going to have that opportunity this round. But here we are.
And
guess what? I'm not going to apologize for this time because of the fact that
nor should you.
Because here's the thing.
One apology is enough for my ego. Don't worry.
I loved the way that St. Peter's played against Murray State. They really messed them up on all sorts of cylinders here. But the reason why I am actually more confident in this Purdue win than I was even really against Yale.
Well, first of all, we don't need to just throw all bets out. We know who you think is going to win.
Yes. So, but here's why. In terms of, and we have talked about this a little bit in length personally, but in terms of matchup and what St. Peter's has been able to do in these first 2 rounds is they mess up guys on the guard end. And then if they get down into the post, what you saw against Kentucky, they will try to double there and they will try to get the ball out as fast as possible, or just force them into places on the floor that they don't want. But what none of the teams that they faced so far have had, that Purdue has, is, first of all, 2 dominant offensive big men, where you
with
can't
Travion
really
and Edey.
It's going to be really hard to get both of them into foul trouble.
Yeah.
Also, if you focus on the big men, how are you going to stop Jaden Ivey? You saw Jaden Ivey get off to an astronomically slow start against Texas, not shooting a single field goal in the first half. Still ended with 18 points in the second half. I think it's going to be really hard to try to defend both of those areas, given their size and their depth as a team. I think Purdue wins this one, not by a ton, because boy, is that St. Peter's offense something to be reckoned with. I saw a video going through some of their sets. Shout out Hoop Vision 68, great YouTube channel if anyone wants to check it out. They have some very great videos overlooking some of the just certain teams and certain parts of the game. They did a really great video right here in the just a little while back on St. Peter's. Their offensive sets are something to really pay attention to, but I think Purdue is going to watch those sets and be at least decently prepared to stifle some of them.
Tim, you provide some great points,
and you're going to throw them all out the window.
I don't have a dry erase marker.
Dougie Edert.
I don't have a dry erase marker. There's no whiteboard. There's no whiteboard.
The marker lost its chance to seal St. Peter's fate.
Well, the marker's dead. We don't need to revive it. It's okay. That bit was ruined in the second round video. But here's what I do have.
Oh boy. What are we pulling out of the hat today? This ought to be a real surprise.
Bringing out the shirt, baby. I am a peacock. You gotta let me fly. St. Peter's to the Elite Eight. Let's go.
It would be one hell of a story. I mean, they've been playing great basketball. And here's the thing. This is not a lock by any means for Purdue. A lot of people, I think it is very bold that as of right now, the last time I checked, the line is Purdue by 12.5. And what we see out of these last two games is St. Peter's does not go away quietly. So I feel like the only way that this game ends in a double-digit Purdue victory is if Purdue ends up late, St. Peter's has to foul, and all of a sudden Purdue remembers how to shoot free throws at a great percentage. Granted, they shot a lot better in the Texas game, but they're still not a fantastic free throw shooting team as a whole. But this one is a game to watch. Tune in Friday night. You are not going to want to miss this one, because regardless who wins, it is going to be such a fun game to watch.
It will be
one of the biggest upsets in Sweet 16 history, or you've got a Purdue team that's been played really surprisingly well, actually, I will say, given the falters they've had in the second half of the year, has played really well in these first two games of the tournament. If they continue this momentum, they're going to be a fun team to watch heading into the Elite Eight.
Oh, Tim.
I'm excited, man. Can you tell them
a 15 seed has never made it to the Elite Eight.
I don't want to be on the wrong side of history on this one.
I put it on Twitter.
Side of history enough.
I tweeted, just watch. St. Peter's will be the first. Tim,
I really hope we can pull up that tweet next week and have it age terribly.
we're going to pull up that tweet this video and the next video, because it'll either age really well or really, really poorly.
Yeah.
But
you betcha.
Tim, I'm just going to paint this picture in your head.
I'm listening.
Shaheen Holloway, Doug Edert, Daryl Banks, Casey Nadefo, the Drame twins celebrating in Philadelphia in front of St. Peter's home crowd. This will be a St. Peter's home game because Jersey City is not that far from Philadelphia after they pulled off the upset of the century. I'm just going to leave that picture there and watch it happen. You picked against them when they played Kentucky. You picked against them when they played Murray State. You're picking against them when you're playing your Boilermakers, which I don't blame you for. You missed once. You missed twice.
Third time's the charm, baby.
You're going to miss again. But that's all we got for our Sweet 16 predictions. We've been covering the first round, the second round. We got those videos if you want to go watch them. We will be covering the rest of the St. Peter's Peacocks National Championship
run.
March. I love March too. We've been doing so much on the Running the Table channel. Thank you all so much for everybody who's been sticking around. We're going to keep riding this train. We love what we do. We love every one of you, and we love every second of it. But until next time, like and subscribe for more Running the Table content, and we out. Let's go, St. Peter's!
Boiler up, baby!
And Miami too.